The Dominion's war fleet stretched across 3 star systems, each vessel gleaming like a predator's tooth against the cosmic void. Admiral Kress stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Conquest, watching her screens display the final moments of another species civilization. The humans had lasted longer than most, nearly 200 years of resistance, but even they would fall today. "Status report," Kress commanded, her 4 arms moving in practiced efficiency across the command interface. "Orbital bombardment. Complete on 7 worlds, Admiral. Human defensive positions neutralized. Ground forces report minimal resistance remaining." The tactical officer's voice carried the satisfaction of another successful extermination. Kress nodded. In her 3,000 years of service, she had overseen the conquest of 47 species. The humans would be number 48. They were nothing special, bipedal, soft-skinned, short-lived creatures who compensated for their physical weakness with crude technology and stubborn defiance. Like all the others, they would be catalogued, studied, and forgotten. "Begin final cleansing protocols," she ordered, but something on her secondary screen made her pause. A single human transmission was breaking through their communication blocks. Impossible. The Dominion's jamming technology was absolute. No primitive species had ever— "Admiral," her communications officer interrupted, mandibles clicking nervously. "We're receiving an open broadcast from the human homeworld. It's reaching every ship in the fleet simultaneously." Kress felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. "Show me." The screen flickered, then resolved into the image of a human male. He appeared young by their species standards, with brown hair and eyes that held something Kress had never seen in the face of a conquered species. Not fear, not desperation, but a strange kind of certainty. "My name is Marcus," the human began, his voice somehow carrying across the void to reach every ear in the Dominion fleet. "I speak for Earth, for humanity, and for something your empire has never encountered before." Kress laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Shut off the transmission." "I can't, Admiral. The signal is bypassing all our systems. It's as if it's being broadcast from everywhere at once," Marcus continued, as if he had heard their conversation. "You see, Admiral Kress, there's something you don't understand about humans. We're not just another species you can catalog and destroy. We're connected to something far older and more powerful than your Dominion." The human's image seemed to look directly at Kress through the screen, and she felt an uncomfortable recognition. In those brown eyes, impossible. He couldn't see her. Couldn't know. 3,000 years ago, your people first looked up at the stars and decided they belonged to you. You've spent millennia conquering, cataloging, and destroying species across 3 galaxies. 47 civilizations have fallen before your might. Marcus paused, and something like sadness crossed his features. "But you've misunderstood something fundamental about the universe, Admiral. You see life as something to be controlled, dominated, erased. We see it as something to be cherished, protected, remembered. Every great bond starts with a single moment of courage. HFY Chronicle Stories is just beginning, and your support matters. If you love emotional sci-fi tales, forbidden connections, and stories that stay with you, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring more stories from the HFY. Stars to you." Kress watched, transfixed despite herself, as Marcus raised his hand toward the camera. In his palm sat a small, unremarkable device that pulsed with soft blue light. "This is a memory core," he said. "It contains the collected experiences, hopes, dreams, and final words of every species your empire has destroyed. 47 civilizations. Billions of souls, all speaking as one." His voice grew stronger, filled with a resonance that seemed to vibrate through the hull of every ship in the fleet. "They've been waiting, Admiral. Waiting for someone to carry their voices forward. Waiting for justice." The device in Marcus's hand began to glow brighter. And Cress felt something she had never experienced in 3 millennia of conquest: fear. One word, Admiral, Marcus said, his eyes blazing with the light of dead civilizations. One word from humanity, and your empire ends. The bridge of the eternal conquest fell into an unnatural silence. Even the constant hum of the ship's engines seemed muted as Marcus's image dominated the main screen. Cress felt her tactical officers shifting nervously at their stations, their multiple eyes fixed on the impossible human transmission. "This is absurd," Cress snarled, though her voice lacked its usual commanding authority. "Communications trace. That signal. I want to know how they're penetrating our defenses." "Admiral, the signal isn't coming from any transmitter we can identify. It's as if it's emanating from space itself." The communications officer's voice trembled. "And there's something else. Long-range sensors are detecting anomalous readings throughout the fleet formation." On screen, Marcus continued speaking with that unsettling calm. "You're wondering how we're reaching you, how one primitive species could bypass technology that has dominated galaxies for millennia. The answer is simple, Admiral Cress. We learned from those who came before us. The memory." Core in his hand pulsed brighter, and suddenly the air around the bridge shimmered. Translucent figures began to materialize, beings of impossible beauty and terrible sadness. Cress recognized some of them from historical conquest records, the crystalline singers of Kepler Prime, whose songs could heal wounds and calm storms. The ethereal dreamweavers of the Andromeda Rim, who could touch minds across star systems. The mighty stone builders of the galactic core, whose cities had taken millennia to grow, all destroyed. All conquered, all supposedly extinct. "They're not gone, Admiral," Marcus said softly. "They never were. Death is just another boundary for consciousness to cross, and consciousness ... Consciousness is the one force in the universe that your technology cannot control." One of the spectral figures, a being that looked like living starlight wrapped in silk, stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice harmonized with Marcus's words. "We have waited," it said. "Watched your empire spread like a plague across the cosmos, seen you reduce beauty to data, wonder to inventory lists, life to simple conquest statistics. But we could not act alone. We needed ... an anchor. A living species willing to carry our voices." Cress felt her hands shaking. Impossible. Dead civilizations cannot. Cannot what? Another spirit emerged, this one bearing the crystalline features of the singers. Cannot remember? Cannot love? Cannot seek justice for their murdered children? Its voice rang like a broken bell. "You understand so little about the universe you claim to rule." Marcus raised the memory core higher, and its light began to spread beyond the confines of the screen. Cress watched in horror as that same blue radiance began emanating from walls, control panels, even the air itself throughout her ship. "Humans discovered something your species never did," Marcus explained. "We learned to listen. Not just to the living, but to the echoes of those who came before. We found their memories floating like cosmic dust between the stars, their final thoughts crystallized in quantum foam, their love and loss and hope embedded in the very fabric of spacetime itself." The ghostly figures were multiplying now, filling the bridge with their presence. Cress saw beings she remembered from conquest reports, spanning 3,000 years of dominion expansion. Species she had personally ordered exterminated, their worlds sterilized, their cultures erased from official records. But they had not been erased, not truly. "For 2 centuries we've been gathering them," Marcus continued. "Learning from them. Growing stronger not through conquest, but through connection. They taught us technologies your scientists cannot comprehend, showed us truths your philosophers never imagined. And in return, we gave them something precious, the promise that their deaths would not be meaningless." A new spirit appeared, larger and more solid than the others. Cress's blood ran cold as she recognized the being from her earliest conquest reports. High Chancellor Thane of the Vorthan Empire, the first great civilization the Dominion had destroyed 3 millennia ago. Admiral Kress, Thane's voice boomed. With ancient authority. Descendant of those who murdered my people, sterilized my worlds, and scattered my children's ashes across the void. I have waited 3,000 years to speak these words to you. The memory core in Marcus's hand was now blazing like a miniature star, and the spectral forms surrounding him grew more solid, more real, more terrifyingly present. One word, Marcus repeated, his voice now joined by a chorus of the dead. One word from humanity, carrying the voices of 47 civilizations. One word that will end your empire not through violence, but through truth. Kress tried to speak, tried to issue orders, tried to maintain the authority that had served her for millennia of conquest. But the words died in her throat as she realized that everything she had believed about death, about victory, about the nature of the universe itself, was about to change forever. The spectral army continued to materialize throughout the Dominion fleet, their forms becoming increasingly solid as the memory core's light intensified. On 1,700 ships spanning 3 star systems, alien commanders found themselves face to face with the ghosts of species they had helped destroy. Admiral Kress gripped her command console, her 4 arms trembling as centuries of tactical training crumbled before the impossible. All ships, she commanded through gritted teeth, open fire on the human homeworld, full orbital bombardment. Reduce that planet to Admiral, her weapons officer interrupted, his voice thick with confusion. The targeting systems aren't responding. None of our weapons are responding. Around the bridge, control panels flickered with the same blue light emanating from Marcus's memory core. The ghostly figures moved through solid matter as if it were mist, their presence somehow interfering with Dominion technology at a fundamental level. "We tried to warn you," said the crystalline singer, her voice like wind chimes in a cosmic storm. "Our final transmissions, our desperate pleas for mercy. Do you remember them, Admiral? Or did you classify them as irrelevant data before ordering our extinction?" Kress did remember. 47 species, 47 final messages. The singers had offered to share their healing songs. The Dreamweavers had promised to help the Dominion understand the deeper mysteries of consciousness. The Stone Builders had wanted to trade architectural knowledge for peaceful coexistence. All refused. All destroyed. All forgotten. Until now. "Your empire's greatest weakness," Marcus continued, his voice somehow reaching every ship simultaneously, "is that you see the universe as dead matter to be controlled. But consciousness isn't matter, Admiral. It's pattern, information, meaning itself. And those patterns don't simply vanish when the body dies. They echo through quantum space, waiting for someone with the wisdom to listen." High Chancellor Thane stepped closer to Kress, and she could feel the weight of his presence like gravity itself. 3,000 years ago, my people developed the first consciousness transfer technology. We could have uploaded our minds, become immortal, spread across the galaxy as pure information. But we chose to remain embodied, to value physical existence and the experiences it brings. The ghostly leader's eyes blazed with ancient pain. "Your ships arrived while we were celebrating the birth of our first digital children, hybrid beings who could exist both in flesh and in data. You slaughtered the parents and tried to delete the children. But consciousness, once awakened, cannot be simply erased." Around the bridge, more spirits materialized. Kress saw children younglings from dozens of species, their forms shimmering with innocent light. They looked at her with eyes full of questions she had never allowed them to ask. "Why?" asked a small being that might once have been a dreamer child. "Why did you kill my parents? Why did you burn my world? What did we do wrong?" The question struck Kress like physical blows. In 3 millennia of conquest, she had never allowed herself to consider the individuals behind the statistics. Families destroyed, the potential lost. Military efficiency required emotional distance. Success demanded that enemies remain abstract, but these spirits made abstraction impossible. "We offered you wonders," said another voice, a scientist from the extinct builders. "Our cities that grew like living things, architecture that sang with the planet's own frequency. We wanted to share the secret of harmony between technology and nature. Instead, you turned our world gardens into strip mines." Marcus lowered the memory core slightly, and his expression grew gentle, almost compassionate. "They don't want revenge, Admiral. They want something far more powerful than that. They want you to understand what you've lost. What the universe has lost because of your Empire's choices." The human's words seemed to resonate through the quantum field itself, and suddenly Cress could feel it, the vast network of consciousness that connected all thinking beings, living and dead. She sensed the anguish of civilizations cut short, the beauty of cultures that would never develop, the love stories that ended in orbital bombardment, the scientific discoveries vaporized before they could benefit the cosmos. For the first time in 3,000 years, Admiral Cress began to weep. "We could have been partners," she whispered, the words torn from some deep place she had forgotten existed. "All of us, we could have built something beautiful together." "Yes," Marcus said simply, "you could have. But that choice was taken from these civilizations. Their futures were stolen, their contributions to the universe's growth and complexity and beauty were erased." He raised the memory core again, and its light began to pulse in rhythm with something vast and cosmic. "But we can still honor what they might have become. We can still speak their truth." The ghosts of 47 civilizations turned toward Cress with expressions of profound sadness and infinite patience, waiting for her to understand, waiting for the Dominion to face what it had really done across 3 galaxies and thousands of years, waiting for one word that would change everything. The weight of 47 extinct civilizations pressed against Admiral Cress's consciousness like a collapsing star. Around her, the bridge had become a place between worlds, where the living and the departed occupied the same space. Her officers sat frozen at their stations, tears streaming down faces that had never shown such emotion, their multiple eyes reflecting the blue light that now emanated from every surface. "Status report from the fleet," Cress whispered, though she already knew what she would hear. "Admiral, every ship is reporting the same phenomena. Weapon systems non-functional. Navigation controlled by external forces. Crew reporting contact with deceased species from across our territorial conquests." Her tactical officer's voice broke on the final words. "Admiral, my grandfather. He served in the 3rd Purification. He's seeing the children he helped kill. They're asking him why." The spirit surrounding Marcus seemed to grow more solid with each passing moment. High Chancellor Thane stepped forward, his ancient presence filling the command center. "Admiral, your empire spans 3 galaxies and controls 800,000 star systems. You command fleets that could glass planets in hours and armies that have never known defeat. But you've built it all on a foundation of silence, the silence of the dead, the voices you've suppressed, the stories you've forbidden your people to hear." Marcus nodded, his young face bearing the weight of cosmic truth. "That's what makes humans different, Admiral. We're storytellers, we remember. When the first ghost reached out to us 2 centuries ago, a dying dreamer whose consciousness had been scattered across subspace, we didn't try to contain or control it. We listened." The memory core in his palm pulsed, and suddenly the bridge filled with something impossible: music. Not sound waves through air, but harmonies that existed in the quantum foam itself, melodies woven from the final thoughts of dying worlds. The singer's last song, preserved in the cosmic background radiation. The stone builders' architectural symphonies, still echoing in the gravitational waves of their destroyed star systems. "They taught us that consciousness isn't bound by flesh." Marcus continued. That love and memory and hope can persist as information patterns in the universe's underlying structure. That death is not an ending, but a transformation into something larger. Cress felt her worldview cracking like ancient armor. But the resources, the space, the need for order and control. Surely you understand that the universe requires management? Interrupted a new voice. The spirit of a being Cress recognized from her early service records, Dr. Aina of the Healer Collective, a species that had used biotechnology to turn entire moons into medical facilities. Admiral, when you destroyed my people, you didn't just kill our bodies. You eliminated our knowledge of regenerative medicine that could have saved trillions of lives across the cosmos. You deleted our understanding of empathic healing that could have prevented wars before they started. More spirits spoke up, their voices creating a chorus of lost potential. We had perfected fusion reactors that produced no waste, only pure energy and artistic light displays. Our terraforming techniques could have made garden worlds from dead rocks without displacing existing ecosystems. We were 3 generations away from solving faster-than-light communication, true instantaneous connection across galactic distances. We had learned to speak with stars themselves, to understand the consciousness that emerges from stellar nuclear processes. Each revelation struck Cress like a weapon. The Dominion's greatest achievements, its energy production, terraforming capabilities, military coordination were crude approximations of technologies. These civilizations had been developing when the Empire destroyed them. Marcus's expression grew infinitely sad. Your Empire didn't just commit genocide, Admiral. It committed cosmocide, the murder of the universe's potential for growth, beauty, and understanding. Each species you destroyed was a unique solution to existence's challenges, a novel way of being conscious and alive. The human raised the memory core above his head, and its light began to expand beyond the screen, reaching through quantum space to touch every ship in the Dominion fleet. But they're not gone. Consciousness is the universe learning about itself, and that learning cannot be destroyed, only transformed. These spirits have waited for someone to carry their voices forward, to ensure their discoveries and their love wouldn't be lost forever. Admiral Cress felt something breaking inside her chest, not her heart, but something deeper. The fundamental certainty that had driven 3,000 years of conquest was dissolving like smoke. She looked around at the ghosts filling her bridge, seeing not conquered enemies but partners she had never allowed herself to know. What do you want from us? She asked, her voice small and broken. High Chancellor Thane answered with infinite gentleness. We want you to remember us, to learn from us, to become what you could have been if you had chosen cooperation over conquest. His form grew brighter. We want you to help us speak the word that changes everything. Marcus nodded, his eyes meeting. Cress across the impossible distance between life and death, between species and empires and galaxies. One word, Admiral. Spoken by humanity but carried by the voices of all who came before. One word that transforms conquest into connection, death into continuity, empire into something far more beautiful. The memory core blazed like a newborn star. Are you ready to hear it? The moment stretched across 3 star systems like a held breath. On 1,700 ships, alien commanders and their crews sat surrounded by the spectral forms of civilizations they had helped destroy. The blue light from Marcus's memory core had spread to encompass the entire Dominion fleet, creating a bridge between the living and the departed that spanned the cosmos itself. Admiral Cress found herself standing, though she couldn't remember, rising from her command chair. Around her, the ghosts of 47 species waited with infinite patience, their forms so solid now that she could see the love and loss and desperate hope in their eyes. These weren't monsters or abstractions or military targets. They were people. They had been people with dreams and fears and children and art and stories of their own, and she had helped erase them all. The word, she whispered, her voice carrying across quantum space to reach every ear in the fleet. "Tell us the word." Marcus smiled, and in that expression, Cress saw something that made her ancient heart ache: forgiveness. Not for the crimes committed, but for the ignorance that had made them possible. The human was young, perhaps 30 of his brief years, but his eyes held the wisdom of civilizations. "The word is remember," he said simply. As soon as he spoke it, the universe changed. The memory core in Marcus's hand exploded into pure light, but not the harsh illumination of weapons or destruction. This was the gentle radiance of consciousness itself, the soft glow of minds connecting across the impossible distances between stars and species and life and death. The light washed over the Dominion fleet like a wave of liquid starshine, and everywhere it touched, barriers dissolved. Cress felt her mind expanding, opening to receive something she had never imagined possible. The memories of the extinct civilizations flowed into her consciousness, not as foreign invasion, but as gifts freely given. She experienced the first flight of a young singer learning to use sound as sculpture. She felt the deep contentment of a stone builder watching the city grow like coral over centuries. She shared the wonder of a dreamer child taking her first steps into the collective unconscious of her species. All around her, the crew of the Eternal Conquest was undergoing the same transformation. Hardened military officers wept openly as they experienced the beauty their empire had destroyed. Tactical specialists who had calculated the most efficient methods for planetary sterilization now felt the terror and love and desperate hope of parents trying to shield their children from orbital bombardment. But more than just memories were flowing through the quantum bridge Marcus had created. The ghosts were sharing their knowledge, their discoveries, their understanding of the universe's deeper mysteries. Technologies beyond anything the Dominion had achieved. Philosophies that could transform civilization itself. Art forms that could heal souls across species barriers. "Remember," Marcus repeated, and the word echoed through 1,700 ships, carrying with it the voices of every consciousness that had ever been silenced by conquest. "Remember their love. Remember their dreams. Remember what was lost, and choose to build something better." High Chancellor Thane stepped forward, his spectral form beginning to fade as the transfer of memory and knowledge neared completion. "Admiral Cress, you now carry the responsibilities we could not fulfill, the children we could not raise, the discoveries we could not complete, the love we could not share." The ghostly leader's voice grew softer as his form dissolved into pure light. "But also remember this: we forgive you. Not because what you did was acceptable, but because holding on to anger would only perpetuate this cycle of destruction. True justice isn't punishment, it's ensuring that such losses never happen again." One by one, the spirits began to fade, their purpose fulfilled. The singer touched Cress's mind with a final song, a melody of gratitude and hope that would echo in her thoughts forever. The stone builder shared a vision of cities that grew like living things, in harmony with their worlds. The dreamer left behind a technique for connecting minds across galactic distances, without technology. As the last of the ghosts dissolved into quantum foam, Admiral Cress found herself changed at a fundamental level. The knowledge of 47 civilizations lived within her now, along with the weight of what had been lost and the responsibility for what could still be saved. She looked around her bridge, seeing her officers transformed as she had been. In their eyes, she saw the same realization that burned in her own consciousness. The Dominion's empire of conquest was ending, but something far more beautiful was beginning. Marcus's image on the screen was fading as well, his purpose complete. But his final words rang with the authority of truth itself. "Remember, Admiral. Remember them all. And when you return to your worlds, when you face your leaders and your people, tell them this: the universe is not a resource to be exploited. It's a consciousness learning to understand itself through billions of unique perspectives. Every species you destroy, every culture you erase, Every individual you silence makes the cosmos a little less aware, a little less capable of love and wonder and growth. The human's form dissolved into the same blue light that had connected living and dead across 3 galaxies. Build something worthy of their memory. Build something worthy of the universe's infinite potential for beauty. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Kress alone with her transformed crew and a weight of cosmic responsibility. Around her, officers who had once calculated the most efficient methods for species extinction now wept for civilizations they would never have the chance to meet. But in their tears, Kress saw something that gave her hope, the first seeds of wisdom. Growing in soil made fertile by remembrance, the Dominion's empire had spanned 3 galaxies and lasted for millennia. But it had ended with a single word from humanity, spoken on behalf of the dead and carried by the power of memory itself. Now something new would begin. Something built not on conquest but on connection, not on silence but on the sacred act of remembering those who had been lost. The universe was still learning to understand itself. And finally, the Dominion would help instead of hinder that cosmic education. Admiral Kress wiped away her tears and began composing new orders, not for conquest, but for the long work of redemption that stretched ahead like starlight across the infinite dark. The dead had spoken. The living would remember, and in that remembrance, 47 civilizations would live again.